Are Gorebulls any good? Alright, time to do a hero unit. Okay, what can a Gorebull do? Armored, armor piercing, anti-large. Now how about hero actions? Assault garrison, assassinate, assault units. This mixes in my mind with a meme I heard exists to the effect of Commander Gorebull, do everything! Please like, subscribe, comment, and consider donating to my Ko-fi page. I'm trying to do new kinds of video coverage, and we'll see how it goes. At some point, I'll do campaign guides too, but those never worked for me in the past. It's okay, and other people do those already. I just want to point out now that getting Minotaurs requires 2 turns of sitting still and not being attacked, which means either not being discovered, having lots of space between your desolation and ruin and the nearest foe, or preferably both. Gorgons, same kind of deal. Also, I've noticed you cannot recruit the regiments of renown outside of a Hearthstone Bloodground, so Beastmen have difficulty recruiting serious anti-large units while under pressure. You either need to be prepared beforehand, or you're in serious trouble. Enter the Gorebull. I can't and won't cover every possible equipable item, but let's go over the base stats and work our way forward. On Ultra, health is 5868, which feels plenty beefy to me. Yes, it's a mild pun. Armor is 100 with missile resistance 15 base. 100 is a very good level of armor, especially considering the faction. Leadership is 75, which is very decent and nothing more. Speed is 64, which is Beastmen Minotaur standard. It's just, Beastmen Minotaurs have puny partial armor, not the Khorne Minotaur level. So this is Olympic level bestiality. Melee attack is 34 base, which looks flat out awful, but we'll come back to that later. Attack interval is 4, which is down the middle decent. Splash attacks damage a maximum of 4 targets, which is low compared to a lot of units, but hey, this is a hero. Melee defense is 32. Weapon strength is 420, which is very solid, and that's split between 140 base and 280 armor piercing, which is even better. More to the point, there's a bonus versus large of 30, and 30 is massive, about the highest base value I can remember in this game. Basically Gorgon level. Charge bonus is 46, equal to the Gorgon, but don't get too distracted by that. The Gorgon has a much higher base attack and hit points. Mass is 2500 for the Gorebull, which is quite high for a quote-unquote monstrous infantry model, but there's only one in the unit, obviously. Let's just expect him to wade through lines as if they're barely there. Aside from the basic Encourage trait, this is a siege attacker, inflicts fear, is a woodsman unit that can hide in forests, and I'd like to know if that means it has no forest penalty, but anyway, it's already a good unit. This is a Minotaur and has blood greed as is. Now, how much it can actually make use of that, I don't know. It has to earn those kills the hard way. Having said that, we also have an aura effect called Slaughterer's Call that triggers when in melee. This adds a +8 to leadership, +8 to melee attack, and adds 10% charge bonus to allies and itself within a 35-meter radius. I want that to sink in. With no requirement except physical proximity and entering melee, in the hands of a melee hero, you get +8 leadership, +8 melee attack, and 10% extra charge bonus. That's amazing for any faction. It's bonkers good for this faction, which benefits mightily from leadership buffs and extra melee attack. See, I didn't even know this before studying the unit for this video. My first campaign went in very different directions because I tried confederating early, as much to rule it in or out as anything else as an experiment, and Beastmen Confederation is chancy. You can't rely on anything except getting the legendary lords themselves. So that meant dread that didn't go toward heroes early. I'm not being subtle about this. I suffered for not getting more Gorebulls early, but that's something you can make up for. Traits aren't something I'm going to dwell on too deeply, but there are known strats for Nurgle's Foul Stink, going back to the original Beastmen, and either Frenzy or Perfect Vigor are powerful choices. +10 to melee attack is never wrong. So, what about the skills? Well, those are actually a mix of Drill Sergeant and Dedicated Assassin. That means you can use training as an embedded butcher, and can spread control, which is, mind you, only useful in enemy territory to lower their control. The rest is just raw damage to garrisons or armies or assassinating heroes. That's still good, but you probably want most of these in your armies. Gorebulls are able to get basic sorts of buffs at rank 10 like Gnarled Hide, adding 15 more armor and plus 5 missile resistance. I'd look at it if you're reducing unit armor from spells or items. For your melee hero line, Blade Master gives you an instant plus 5 melee attack buff, which makes your starting 34 seem less puny. From here, you can build up to a maximum of plus 30 charge bonus, plus 15 armor, which would stack with that Gnarled Hide one, Primal Instincts to buff melee defense by 12, and Deadly Blade to buff melee attack by 12. Assuming you did the latter, melee attack would be 51 before any Bloodgreed buffs kick in, and that doesn't include the Slaughterous Call aura, so once you're in melee, that's 59. If you're fighting a large target, that's melee attack 89, and you haven't even hit Foe Seeker yet, the universal middle tree warrior ability to buff your own foot speed. Actually, 25% more speed on a unit with 64 base shouldn't be dismissed. Woundmaker adds up to 20% weapon strength, Unnatural Thirst adds up to 30% more hit points, Indomitable adds up to 12 leadership, and Call to More Sleep adds up to plus 12 more melee defense. Note that this means that the 3 pip skills have 2 parts for raising melee defense, but you started the tree with buffing melee attack right from the get-go. Deadly Onslaught is the standard vanilla, giving 25% increases to both flavors of damage, and a 60% increase to charge bonus. So if you slept on Devastating Charge before getting to this point, you might want to go back and prioritize that, because you're getting a percentage bonus to whatever your base value is. In addition, at rank 10 you can pick between 4 paths for making the hero even better. Picking one locks out the others, of course. The Strength of the Land is a truly rare beast, forgive the pun, creating a 35 meter armor buff, adding 23 armor and plus 5 missile resistance. Remember, this is a low armor faction. Against anything that isn't end-game armor-piercing style enemy units, this can be an enormous boon to your rank and file, and even your lords and monsters. The Unrelenting Warherd adds plus 15 melee attack in a 35 meter radius, which means it doesn't even have the Slaughterous Call condition of being in melee, and yes, it does affect yourself. The Best of the Beast is dedicated to your detached agents, granting 25% hero action cost reduction, plus 5 hero action success, minus 10% enemy hero success, and plus 10% chance of wounding hero attempts on the Gorebull's life. Respect the name. These guys are no joke. The Vast Unending Warherd gives the Gorebull terror and grants it to all Minotaur units within that army. Now, someone pointed out to me that terror inflictors are immune to terror, but Bloodgreed includes immunity to psychology, so lack of primal fury doesn't make them susceptible to terror. They are not scaredy bulls. I want to emphasize something about the above buffs, and yes, I made sure for myself, you still keep Slaughterous Call. In other words, you can have Unrelenting Warherd and Slaughterous Call active at the same time. You can have the Strength of the Land and Slaughterous Call active at the same time. It is my view that the faction badly needs this kind of buffing, since winning Mosh Pit Brawls is one of the bigger problems you have with a faction on the lower armor side. The only big thing I want to say about text is that at some point you should make a conscious effort to unlock Horns of War, which adds the Guardian trait for lords and embedded heroes. This means that proximity to other friendly characters adds 15% physical resistance, and if they all have Guardian, then all in close proximity are that much tougher against anything that is not a magical attack. Now at this point you may be wondering, is there anything bad about this unit? Well, you want them doing so many things that they can't possibly do all of them, just like how there is only one Commander Shepard, and he can't be literally everywhere. Of course, you can have more Gorebulls, and that's ultimately what you want to do. Get more Gorebulls. You need to have 1 or 2 roaming around just to hurt stuff and soften them up. The rest, Let me put it this way. I have seen what it's like fighting Treeman and Durthu without enough dedicated anti-large anti-armor. It's not pretty. If you want a real downside, it's that armor eventually gets wrecked by armor-piercing units, and the Gorebull can toughen up against missiles to a point, but never to the point of nigh immunity. Dark shards can and will tear one to pieces. Also, Gorebulls are large themselves and will suffer for it against the right targets. That's pretty much it. Aside from the wonky Confederation issues in and of themselves, don't do what I did out of ignorance. Don't sleep on Gorebulls. It's not just that they're good fighters. It's not just that they fill a clear combat niche in your army. It's not even just that you can recruit them instantly without having to pray Louis Leoncoeur doesn't find you before you can finish rebuilding. It's that they buff the rest of a roster at the point of greatest need, and battlefield buffs are something this roster needs in the worst way, especially if you're like me and cursed with low magic areas for half your campaign. Take care, and remember, mess with the bull, you get the gold.